The Minecraft community has always had a soft spot for mushroom biomes. They are the only biome with no hostile mobs, the only biome with mushrooms, and one of the rarest biomes in the entire game, making them a sight to catch your attention if you're lucky enough to come across one. What's even more noteworthy is when a world directly spawns a player in that biome. In Java 1.17 and earlier, only 1 out of every 7,500 worlds had that distinction, and they were revered by players and widely shared. However, when 1.18 was released, the biome generation and spawn algorithms were completely changed, and mushroom biome spawn points abruptly disappeared. Some minor attempts were made to find one. Those attempts came up empty. As time passed, word spread that spawning on a mushroom island, at least under default generation, was now impossible. Under the surface, this was because worlds in 1.18 Plus now partially filter their biomes using 5 noise maps called climates. One specific climate, called continentalness, only allows mushroom biomes to generate when its noise map reaches values of negative 1.05 or below. But low continentalness can also correspond to ocean generation, and because the game doesn't want to spawn players in an ocean, the spawn algorithm actively avoids places with such low continentalness, preventing mushroom island spawns from occurring if any alternative can be found. The only possible way to achieve one seemed to be finding a mushroom island covering the entire 5,000 block wide spawn range. There are large biome seeds where that occurs, but under default generation that was far too difficult to obtain. But of course, if you give a group of seed finders a problem, they'll find 3 different ways to tackle it, obtaining 4 mind-bogglingly rare finds in the process, and in the end, they'll ultimately crack the problem once and for all. One seed finder named Giro was convinced the secret lay in finding the largest mushroom islands possible. Similar to large biomes, if a mushroom island covered the entire spawn radius, there would be nowhere else a player could spawn except for the island. Beginning in May 2022, he began using a seed finding tool developed by Cubitect called QBiomes Viewer to test if worlds contain large oceans with wide stretches of mushroom fields. Over time, that gave way to testing if worlds contained wide areas of the low continentalness that mushroom fields require, especially after an update to the tool in January 2023 made checks for extreme climate values far quicker. Over a year after the beginning, on June 9th, 2023, he found an island with a whopping 5.41 million blocks of area, a record that stood for over a year. In mid-July 2024, another effort began, this time to find large mushroom islands for their own merits, with multiple contributors participating. And on August 7th, 2024, Meox found an even larger mushroom island at 5.89 million blocks in area. But, unfortunately, that was still nowhere near large enough to prevent the spawn algorithm from picking a different location on land a few hundred blocks away. Eventually, Giro had a different idea. If a direct mushroom spawn couldn't be found, what if a world instead dropped a player in a location surrounded by mushroom fields on all sides, so the player had nowhere to travel except onto a mushroom island? Simply put, he wanted a spawn inside a mushroom island ring. However, as simple as this sounds, a search for such a setup is very difficult to create in practice. Climate noise maps prefer to radiate outwards in all directions instead of taking specific shapes, and there's no way a filter can know ahead of time what size or shape a successful ring might be. Ultimately, throughout 2023, Giro and another seed finder named Knight created a loose query that returned thousands upon thousands of seeds, each of which could potentially correspond to a ring. These were then checked manually to see if any actually did. This search was then run by many contributors from Minecraft at Home, the r/Minecraft Seeds community, and the Minecraft and Chill community. Collectively, 9 contributors checked no fewer than 20 trillion seeds, but in the end, a successful seed was found by Pidge on July 13th, 2024. An impressive find, but what if, at the end of the day, there's no need to settle with simply being surrounded by a mushroom island? Completely independent to all of this, Nels had been researching the 1.18 Plus spawn algorithms ever since December 2022 to see how it could be used to obtain faraway spawn points. But as he did so, he gradually stumbled upon an alternate way a mushroom biome spawn could be obtained. In Java Edition alone, the spawn algorithm has one extra failsafe to avoid ocean spawns. If a spawn point falls over water, and a sky-exposed top-solid non-waterlogged block can be found within 5 chunks of the spawn point will be moved to that block instead. This meant a mushroom spawn point doesn't need to fall directly on a mushroom island, it only needs to fall within 5 chunks of one, which requires a much less negative continentalness, closer to the ranges of the values the spawn algorithm could realistically pick. Based on this knowledge, in March 2024, Nels created a condition list to look for such spawn points using QBiomes Viewer. After checking 146 billion worlds, he found a world with a mushroom island only 19 blocks outside of the required 5-chunk radius, which was promising enough for him to quickly convert the filter into a C program and give it to Colin Henry. Colin then ran it on a computing cluster to check 1 trillion additional seeds, but the search came back empty and the project fell back into hiatus. 3 months later, yet another seed finder named Shomi7 was looking for a project to dedicate her computing power to, and asked if any mushroom biome spawn points had been found yet. Soon her computer was running Nels' Q-Biomes viewer filter and checking worlds as well, at a rate of 360,000 seeds per second, which rose to 4.8 million seeds per second when Jarreau adapted the filter to run even faster. Once again, more people joined the search. Ultimately, they checked 8 trillion distinct seeds, but out of the 5 searchers, it was Jarreau's computer that discovered the lucky seed on July 8, 2024. In this seed, the spawn point is initially placed in the ocean, and across the 5-chunk radius that the spawn algorithm checks for land, there is one single mycelium block at the very far northwest corner. But, as predicted, that is still enough to shift the player onto the island, enabling the first widely known Mushroom Island spawn under default generation since 1.18 was released. 4 seeds, each of which having a rarity of epic proportions, and in the end, what was once thought impossible has now been proven to be possible after all. Thank you to everyone who helped in finding these seeds. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. From everyone at Minecraft at Home, thank you so much for watching.